Hi, my name's Harry, and if you're new here, then welcome. And if you're not new here, then welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the fashion mistakes that I wish I'd stopped doing sooner. So let's get straight into the video. The first thing that I wish I'd stopped doing sooner is buying clothing because it's from a certain brand, or not buying clothing because it's from a certain brand. So what I mean by this is, let's take TK Maxx for example, or TJ Maxx if you're in America. There's been so many times where I've been shopping in TK Maxx, going through the rails of clothing, and then I see the top of a piece of clothing and it's from a brand that I absolutely love. I look down at the piece of clothing and it's hideous. I will never wear it, but I take it to the till and I purchase it anyway, because it's from a brand that I really like. There's also times when I'm shopping where I'll come across an item of clothing and I'll really like the piece and I think this is great, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I absolutely love this piece of clothing. Look up at the brand and oh no. And then I end up pushing past and looking for something else just because it's from a certain brand that I think isn't cool. But how ridiculous is this? You're buying clothing purely for the name of the brand that makes that clothing rather than the product itself. Or you're not buying clothing because of the brand attached to it. Okay, if there's a brand that have done something really bad and you know about this brand and they're not a good brand because they treat their staff badly, for example, then of course don't buy from this brand. But if you're not buying a piece of clothing purely because that brand is labelled as not cool by the kids, then it's just ridiculous. The next point kind of ties in with the first one, and that is to stop buying things just because they're expensive. There's been so many times in the past where I've judged an item of clothing purely on the cost of that item of clothing. If it's expensive, I automatically think, well, it must be really good then. And if it's really cheap, then I think, what's wrong with it? Why is it so cheap? Cheap price doesn't always mean cheaply made, and more expensive doesn't always mean good quality. A lot of these luxury brands are able to whack up the prices on their products because people will pay for the name, and they know people will pay for the name. So you're not paying for the quality, you're paying more for the name. The next one that I wish I'd stopped doing sooner, and this is a really big one for me, is I wish I'd stopped putting myself into a category. And a lot of people do this. You get a certain style that you're into and you sort of join a little club of the same kind of people who are into the same kind of style, and you don't buy items of clothing that don't fit into that certain style. This is something that I've done from a young age, and I remember when I was a skateboarder, I would only buy clothing from skate shops, or I would only buy clothing that are made for skateboarders. So if it was a blading company, then I wouldn't wear it. If it was a cycling company, I wouldn't wear it. But it had to be skateboarding. And I suppose I've done this for a lot of my life. When I first started out on Instagram, I was into that minimal style, so I would only buy clothing that fit into that minimal style. So I was stopping myself from buying so much clothing that I liked just because it didn't fit into a category that I put myself in. So my point is, stop labeling yourself, stop categorizing yourself, and just buy what you like. You are an individual with your own tastes, you've got your own personality, so show that through your clothing by buying the stuff that you like, rather than the stuff that fits into a category that you've put yourself in. The next thing that I wish I'd stopped doing, and this has definitely got easier with age, but that is playing it safe. When I was younger, I didn't really want to stand out that much, which is why I bought more minimal clothing without a lot going on, because I just wanted to blend in more. But these days, I'm willing to try new things, try pushing myself a bit further. I know I'm just in a black t-shirt and a hat right now, so not really pushing the boundaries in this video. But I've started to experiment with colour a lot more recently, which I wasn't doing before. Mainly because I was always worried what other people would think of me if I was standing out too much. I would be looked at, I would be judged, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I don't really care these days as much. And as I said, it's got easier with age. I care less as I get older. But yeah, I wish I'd started experimenting more when I was younger, because you can get away with more when you're younger. The last thing that I wish I'd stopped doing sooner is paying so much attention to other people. This doesn't mean that you should stop looking at others for inspiration, but what I mean by this is I would often look at people who I like the way they dress and then start buying the same exact items of clothing that they had and trying to dress like them. The thing is you lose your personality and your individuality through doing this. Yes, I still look at others for inspiration from certain pieces, but I'll take inspiration from loads of different people and then mix and match it to form my own individual style. So there you go, those are the fashion mistakes that I wish I'd stopped doing sooner. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!